Anyway, thank you for having me here today. As moderator introduced me, I am Sungjin Park, the Executive Director of Government Accounting and Finance Statistics Center at the Korea Institute of Public Finance. I'm happy to join this meeting to discuss about how to implement and what lessons can be learned from implementing accrual accounting in government. And for my presentation, first, I'll provide some institutional background of public sector in Korea. After that, I'll give you a brief overview of accrual accounting implementation in Korean public sector. From there on, I'll focus on a couple of key factors related to the success factors related to implementation of accrual accounting in Korea, of national accounting. And then I'll touch on a couple of remaining issues coming from the 10 years of experience in implementing accrual accounting in Korean central government. First, the boundary of public sector accounting in Korea. Because Korea has adopted a decentralized government system more than 30 years ago, local governments are autonomous in their fiscal management and fiscal decisions, therefore adopted their own accrual-based accounting standard. However, because they are still financially dependent on central government, the accounting practices are monitored by the Ministry of Interior and Safety, a central government unit. So, to give you a more complete picture of Korean implementation of accrual accounting in Korea, I'll focus on the central government case today. By the way, public institutions and public corporations are using either IFRS or slightly modified version of IFRS. So national accounting standard would be more relevant to the case of central government. Traditionally and historically, the Korean government accounting practice were based on single entry, cash basis accounting. And gradually, local government has adopted accrual accounting, and central government followed suit, and public institutions also adopted accrual accounting in sequence. So local government adopted accrual accounting first in 2007 in Korea. And in 2011, central government has also started preparing accrual-based financial statement and submitted them to National Assembly. This is legally mandated by National Accounting Act. And the Ministry of Economy and Finance became in charge of managing this national accounting system in Korea. And along with mandatory IFRS adoption for private sector, publicly listed companies in Korea in 2001, public corporations also adopted accrual accounting, well, IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard, and quasi-government institutions also adopted accrual-based accounting system similar to public corporation from 2013. Before we move on, one distinction between the general government, central and local government versus public institutions regarding accounting practice is government, both of central and local government, receive only auditor's review service for their financial report, but public institutions are required to get external audit and receive audit opinion on their financial statement. Anyway, so to implement accrual accounting in government, the first thing Korean government had considered was which accounting standard shall be used. Although accrual accounting in central government has been discussed in 1997, right after a financial crisis, so a lot of discussion went on, but actual adoption was done in 2011. But the discussion about choosing accounting standard was actually started at the late 1990s. But back then, IPSAS was not in full swing. So only one or two standard was prepared. So what Korean government decided is we have to create our own kind of accounting standard. So Korean government tried to benchmark several advanced countries regarding government accounting. So they studied the case of United States, so both of Federal Accounting Standard Board and Government Accounting Standard Board for federal and local, and also studied for the case of UK's Treasury and their FRAB, Financial Reporting Advisory Board, and also examined the case of Australia and New Zealand. And finally, Korea decided to start the creation of accounting standard from a corporate accounting standard, but borrowed approaches taken by United States. Because of the nature of this fiscal decentralization, Korean government believed that U.S. federal system is more suitable for central government of Korea. Anyway, after creating our own national accounting standard, we had to give some legal authority to that accounting standard. So National Accounting Act was promulgated and provided like overarching legal framework of accrual accounting for Korean government. And major topics like structure and composition of financial statement were actually stipulated in the act. To spread this accrual accounting practice in government unit, I think there's some delay. Anyway, so enforcement decree was enacted to install chief accounting officers and to establish government accounting and finance statistics center, GAFSC. This is special research unit for national accounting system of Korean government. An actual accounting standard are enacted in the form of ordinance. Interestingly, Korean national accounting standards does not have a separate conceptual framework like what is done in IPSAS. So those basic concepts, such as a definition of financial statement elements, assets and liabilities, are included as part of accounting standard. And when you take a look at this standard setting process in Korea, we can see that the GAFSC and Ministry of Economy and Finance are working very closely. Actually, they are taking the roles in sequence, like passing baton. When certain accounting issues were identified by GAFSC, initial research were done internally at the center, and draft was prepared for new standard or idea for amending existing standard, and then submitted to the Minister of Economy and Finance, and go through the deliberation by National Accounting System Deliberation Committee. When the proposal is finalized and approved by NASDC, then it becomes accounting standard for Korean central government. This is due process of setting accounting standard in Korea. And here I would like to point out several success factors of Korean government accrual accounting implementation. As you know, implementing accounting system is not like buying computer. This is like it should be done following whole approach. We have to create an entire ecosystem within the government. For this, the Korean government has been investing significant amount of time and resource, focusing on internal development of accounting expertise and external acquisition of those talent. The first GAFC was created first in 2010, just before adopting accrual accounting in Korean national government, Korean central government. This center was initially created by recruiting CPAs from private sector. So external accounting experts were recruited to deal with Korean government accounting issues. And also Korean government was trying to develop their accounting capacity within the organization So lots of training and education sessions were designed and delivered. A face-to-face module, online module, regular basis, reminder, lots of training sessions were provided for capacity building. And that has continued since the adoption of Accrual counting over the last 10 years. And also special accountant were decided to be recruited for Korean government as well. For that, also presenter decree was made. And one thing I'd like to highlight for the case of Korea is how information technology was leveraged for implementation of the Korean government accrual system. At the very beginning of accrual counting adoption in Korean government, there was help from the IT, information technology. So I'll touch on this a little more detail later on. The two aspects I want to highlight for the case of Korean government accrual counting implementation. As I told you, GAFSC was created, and this is important because, as Ian mentioned, accrual accounting adoption is more like change management. It's a whole government approach which should be taken. So all the training should be delivered on regular basis and continuously, and that function is also covered by the role of GFSC. And also fundamental research for accounting standard setting and revision and amendment were done by these experts recruited into JFSC. A unique feature of Korean government approach is, even though initially, so at the very beginning of accrual counting adoption, even though private sector experts were recruited, but later on, by the way, at the beginning, the private this government accounting center was housed in KICPA, the Korean Institute of CPAs. This is an organization of CPAs in private sector. But later on, the center was relocated into the government-sponsored accounting research institution, KIPF. So this is a way external expertise was internalized in Korean government. And also, I want to highlight the role of technology. When accrual accounting was adopted, actually Korea went through the Korean government followed, using Dimitri's term, Big Bang approach. So not only accounting system, but budget system and treasury system and system development. All those four sections of reform went hand in hand. So accrual accounting adoption actually is reflected, mirrored into the development of system, information system, integrated information system, which is called as D-Brain. And I believe you'll have a chance to be briefed on this D-Brain system sometime tomorrow. So I'll just skip on that for now. But one of the reasons why I'm emphasizing the role of technology is Korea, even though Korea adopted accrual accounting for its financial reporting, its budget system is still based on cash basis accounting. So when you take a look at Korean government financial report, it includes 4 sections: overview, revenue and expenditure report, consolidated financial statement, and performance report. And the second component, revenue and expenditure report, that should be submitted to the National Assembly, is still based on cash-based accounting. The budget process is still based on cash-basis accounting, but financial reporting is based on accrual-based accounting. In other words, Korean government have to deal with these 2 different set of information, accounting information. But that's why 2 settlements goes hand in hand at the end of every fiscal year. So budget settlement and financial accounting settlement should be done. That's why the D-Brain system, or integrated financial management information system, is heavily used for the implementation of an operation of accrual accounting system in Korean government. And as I told you, I have no intention of going through the details of this D-Brain system, but I just want to highlight one thing. So this system integrates budget management system. So this is based on cash-based information, and accounting system, financial accounting system, based on double entry accrual information, accounting information. So this technology actually helps the implementation of accrual accounting. And I believe during the Q&A session, one of the representative from the floor asked about how to deal with human resource limitation. And one of the approach taken by Korean government is by leveraging this information system. In the D-brain system, there's one function was added called as automatic journalizing process. So this is the way, so when government employees is trying to record a certain transaction, they can choose a type of transaction and things like that. And that system will automatically may add some reference checks and cross-check with different records like expenditure requests or money transfer requests, things like that, and go through these process, and eventually journal entry is automatically generated and posted to general ledgers and sub-ledgers. So from government employee or government accountant point of view, their workload or cognitive burden is significantly reduced through the help of this information system. So that means not all government employees have to be trained full package of accounting knowledge. So that actually helped for our center to reduce the training burden of our government employees. So in other words, some of human resource limitation is taken care of, or at least mitigated through this help of information technology. And the way the D-brain system or the FMIS is actually implemented in Korean case is both of cash-based budget information and accrual-based financial accounting information. When COA or chart of account is created, those budget-based, cash-based COA and financial accounting COA were mapped, and one full comprehensive COA was used to design and implement and develop the brain system. And I believe the more details can be discussed tomorrow when the brain system is presented. Anyway, now I want to point out a couple of achievements made and remaining challenges of Korean government accrual accounting implementation. Similar to many other countries adopted accrual accounting, Korean government also experienced some of benefits in their fiscal management. First, it becomes way easier to identify the assets and clarify the liabilities. Before adopting accrual accounting, property of government, commodity, credit information, debt information, all those information were maintained separately. Partly because all those assets and liabilities were managed based on separate law. So based on those separate laws, separate records were maintained, but they were not consolidated. But by adopting accrual-based accounting system, it becomes clear that how much of asset is actually owned by government and how much of liability, current and non-current liability are out there. So what is net worth? What is financial status of government? It becomes way easier for government to go through that kind of assessment, and that provides key information for making sound fiscal decisions. So that is one of the benefits coming from the implementation of accrual accounting. And importantly, it becomes much easier and more efficient for the government to manage their assets. So before adopting accrual accounting, not all assets were actually managed, not even recognized. But after adopting accrual accounting, some of key national assets, for example, infrastructure, is actually recognized. To recognize those infrastructure and put them in government statement of financial position had to be identified and measured. So that process actually helped the Korean government to perform more efficient asset management of national resources. And also by doing that, How much of depreciation is recognized can be identified. But that information provides information about the obsoleteness of the asset, and then government officers can make better prediction about how much of repair or maintenance costs would be incurred in coming years. So that is another benefit of implementing accrual accounting in Korean government. And regarding the liability side, after implementing accrual accounting and preparing preparing financial statements, additional information actually provided, and that information actually helped to make changes in the way people perceive about the government finance. One key example is related to the pension reform. Before adoption of accrual accounting, there was a lot of discussion went on about how to reform pension, but no agreement could be made. But by providing the additional information about future pension liabilities, that provision of additional information actually changed the way people think about future obligation of government. And finally, we could go through the pension reform, which significantly reduce the future liability pension provision, 53 trillion Korean won. So that change, that pension reform was possible by providing additional information, and that information was generated after adopting accrual accounting for central government. So this is key role of accounting information outside the boundary of government organizations. And by adopting accrual accounting, all the fiscal statistics Korean government generates could be converted into accrual-based statistics. And now, and after that, fiscal statistics of Korean government can be becomes comparable to other countries because we're following the international standard. So cross-country compatibility is significantly increased, and as a result, credibility is also increased for Korean government financial numbers. So these are the snapshot of what kind of challenges was there at the adoption of accrual accounting, and how Korean government actually overcome those challenges. But I believe some of you, maybe many of you, are more interested in the case, special case of Korean government experience. And this is a couple of issues learned and challenges remain after 10 years of experience of accrual accounting implementation in Korea. And Korean government is Korean case is one case of converting cash-based accounting into accrual-based accounting, following Big Bang approach. That means at the first year of preparing accrual-based financial statement, lots of things should be rushed to identify all those government assets. Lots of asset valuation was done in a short window. But in Korea, those national assets, government assets, are required to be reevaluated on timely basis, on regular basis, 5 years in general. That means if anything went wrong in initial valuation of those assets, in 5 years, errors from initial valuation will become a problem. So after 5 years, when reevaluation of assets should be done, so when errors made previously is identified, then that should be corrected. Well, even in private sector, error correction happens all the times, but the problem of those errors in public sector is that that mistake may be kind of blamed by politicians as mismanagement of public money. So asset measurement and evaluation should be prepared to provide like airtight system to prevent political backfire about the use of or adoption of accrual accounting. And also, when accrual accounting was initially adopted, there was like social consensus about using accrual accounting in government, a lot of private sector talents could be more willing to go into the public sector. But during the last 10 years, the wage increase in public sector versus wage increase in private sector was not even comparable. And nowadays, lots of skilled accountants, well, for example, like CPAs in public sector, is trying to come out of public sector and go into the private sector because they promise much better pay package and even better future for their careers. So after implementing accrual accounting for 10 years, now we become more serious in Korea about developing clear career path for accountants in public sector. And also, this is maybe somewhat unique for the case of Korea because Korean government created its own accounting standard and running its own standard setting process. Still, the standard setting process is strongly influenced by the voice of Minister of Economy and Finance. But to provide independence of the standard setting process, we are considering the way to provide more independence by infusing more private sector contribution toward this due process and standard setting process. And it's maybe not feasible in the near future, but for like long-term, very, very long-term project, Korean government is trying to think about the possibility of creating or preparing consolidated financial statement for entire public sector. Well, this is just a very rough idea stage, but as a short-term or as a more tangible or approachable project to improve the quality of government accounting information, currently Korean government is trying to streamline its financial statement to make it more readable, more understandable, and easier to use by the citizens. So this is one of the key projects GAFSC and Minister of Economy and Finance is currently working on with a timeline of 3 years until 2025. So please stay tuned and ask about the status of this innovation or reformation of government financial reporting system in Korea. And that will wrap up my presentation. So thank you for paying attention. And if you have any question, I'll stand by here. Please direct those questions to me. Thank you.